All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be doing a Baltimore Ravens 7-round mock draft, keeping the theme of the AFC North. We're going to go division by division until we get through all of the 32 teams in the NFL. Once again, quick preface, not going to be doing any trades. I just don't think it's really worth the time of figuring it out. Draft order can change. A lot of the players can move up and down on the board, so we're just going to stick and pick. And keep in mind, once we get towards the back end of the draft, really more focusing on positional needs, not necessarily the specific players, just because I'm less familiar with those players, and there certainly could be a lot of shifting up and down, people committing to the draft, people not committing. So we're really just looking for positional need at the back end. But we can go ahead and get this started. I'm going to close those two tabs. I was doing a little look before this. With the 15th overall pick, I think they really need to add D-line help. I know their pass rush has not been good at all this year, and I know they're even losing some guys. I know Kyle Van Noy's a free agent, Draymond Jones is a free agent, David Ojabo, a depth piece, is a free agent, and Mike Green hasn't really been good whatsoever for them. So it certainly would be beneficial for them to add some edge help, even some interior help. I know they just signed Travis Jones. That was an interesting contract, to say the least. So let's take a look at edge and interior defensive line right now. I like Cade McDonald for them quite a bit. I mean, he's just a bigger, higher upside Tyleik Williams, and I was a fan of Tyleik Williams coming out of the draft last year. He's just a monster. Cassius Howell is just kind of small, and I'm pretty sure Mike Green's a little on the smaller side. I know his arm length is brutally bad, so I don't know if you can really get away with two guys who are kind of a smaller profile. TJ Parker's a little bit bigger. I wouldn't be shocked if he's a little heavier when he weighs in at the combine. I like TJ Parker. I know a lot of people are kind of souring on him, saying he's more of a day 2 guy, day 3 guy, which day 3 is insane. Maybe I could see early day 2, and I know this year hasn't been as good as last year, but I still think he possesses the adequate enough athletic ability, and I think he's proven to be a productive player. And I think I think that's who we're gonna roll with. I think he provides a good balance of, pass rush ability, but big enough, thick enough to actually be, a plus in the run defense, which they need both along that defensive line. So we're gonna go with T.J. Parker with the first overall pick. The second overall pick, I see Austin Serveld staring us in the face. Their offensive line is another issue. I know Falele has been terrible after having a solid start to the year. He has been rough. Serveld is certainly interesting. They also could probably use receiver. I don't know how much longer they're going to hold on to Bateman. And really, other than Zay Flowers, that receiving core lacks any sort of juice, any sort of pop. And I think it shows. The offense has kind of been really stagnant and just at times this year. Don't love some of the receivers. I do really like Skylar Bell. I think Skylar Bell's phenomenal. Don't love Chris Brazzell. Jeremy Bernard's kind of a low floor player, and if you're looking to add some pop, don't really think he's the way to go. Austin Serveld would be awesome here, though. They also could probably use some corner help. I know Marlon Humphrey's getting a little older. I'm iffy on Nate Wiggins. I think if he's here, you have to pick him. I think he's just going to be that good of a guard prospect. I don't think he's a tackle. I think he's a guard. If he's sitting there at 47, you kind of got to pull the trigger on it. Here at pick 79, I know Isaiah Likely is a free agent. I'm not sure the market that Likely is going to demand. I I mean, he might want to go to a place. I know they just signed Mark Andrews, so they're really going to pay likely to. He's likely going to want to stay for a place that he's going to be the number two. Maybe he wants a chance to kind of be the primary receiving tight end. So a guy like Eli Stowers, I don't think would be insane. I like Justin Jolly here too. Big Christmas. The better Big Christmas. I wouldn't hate Jadarian Price. I wouldn't hate. Actually, wrong Michigan. I wouldn't hate Jayshon Barham here. I like Akeem Messidor. I think he would fit well into their defensive front. I mean, he's not a stand-up edge. Plays a lot outside of the tackle, but he's a big, thick guy. Obviously had a good statistical year. Jayshon Barham, definitely smaller. Little smaller. Definitely smaller. Just kind of provides that juice off the edge, which is kind of what they thought they were getting with Mike Green, and that just hasn't panned out well. I kind of like one of those two guys and sort of double dipping on the defensive line. Like I said, they could use receiver. Eli Stowers is interesting. I like Eli Stowers quite a bit. I think him and Mark Andrews would kind of pair well together. Skylar Bell is gone. I would have taken Skylar Bell, absolutely. I was even thinking about taking him at the last pick. I think he's that good. Amari Cooper's interesting. Deion Burks didn't have a fantastic year. Amari Cooper's really interesting. Kind of gives you a different skill set and different size profile than Zay Flowers. Their D-line just really needs help. We're going to roll with Akeem Messidor. I'm a big fan of his. I think he has a chance to go a little bit higher than that as the draft process goes on here. Now we're looking at pick 115. We've kind of double dipped on the defensive line, and we've also hit the offensive line. So I think trenches are good for a little bit. Definitely need some secondary and some receiver help. Eric Singleton, Zachariah Branch. I'm starting to get in the range where I'm comfortable with him. Bryce Lance is interesting. That was a tough one. Nick Harbor's interesting. Not this early. I'm not super familiar with Eugene Wilson III. Running back's another thing, another position I wouldn't hate. Katron Allen's interesting. I know he's a bigger, thicker guy. Obviously not quite as big as Derrick Henry, but a similar mold of running back. Justice Haynes is a guy who kind of reminds me of like a Justice Hill with a little more, juice, a little more electricity to him. Xavier Scott would be interesting. He's got the size that they would like. Yeah, 5'11", almost 200 pounds. I said Marlon Humphrey's on the downslope. I mean, I don't think he's a bum, but I think Katron Allen's really interesting, man. Depending on how much time you think you have with Derrick Henry, he's still good, but clear decline, and he's only getting older. Would I want Katron Allen, or would I want Xavier Scott here? Both guys you're probably not asking much out of year one. I think I'd rather go with Xavier Scott. I think he's the better player, and if neither of them are going to make a huge impact, they're both going to go with the guy you think's a little better. Tim Keenan's interesting here. I think I picked him for the Browns as well. Just a big, beefy run defending, just stout, SEC defender. It's a little rough, but I don't think we'll go there. We've hit defensive line enough. Eric Rivers is interesting. Justice Haynes is still here. That's certainly interesting to me. Man, they really need to add something at receiver. I know they added Tez Walker a few years ago. He really hasn't panned out into anything significant. Bryce Lance is interesting. Eric Rivers didn't have the year Georgia Tech was hoping for. I like Kevin Coleman. Not here, but I'm familiar with Kevin Coleman. I'll say that. I'm gonna go Justice Haynes. I think he just I think he brings a certain juice, maybe similar to Keaton Mitchell, but I think he's a better actual like runner of the ball. I think he's probably got better vision than Keaton Mitchell, less reliant on like pure explosives, although he does still have the capability to be explosive. Pick 154. I mean, we have to add receiver at some point. Eric Rivers at 154. Nick Harbor at 154. I mean, he just hasn't really put it together, but he's a freak. And in the 5th round, sometimes you just take chances on freaky guys. They need something. They need to chuck a dart at a wall at the receiver room and just see if they can get another dynamic weapon out there. Pick 172. Let's see some of the guys left. Are there any tight ends? Oh, man, this is pretty easy for me. I mean, if Tanner Koziel's here, I know I picked him for the Steelers around here. But, man, like I said, if you lose Isaiah Likely, talk about replacing with a similar skill set guy who I just think would complement Mark Andrews really well. Would certainly add another weapon to put into 12 personnel. Yeah, give me that all day. All day. Pick 175, a few picks later. This is where it starts to get a little interesting. You get into these deep rounds, less familiar with guys. Could hit secondary again. I'm never opposed to a late round flyer on a linebacker. Not him. I like my linebackers with size. I like a bigger, thicker, traditional linebacker. Not someone who's 5'10", 220 pounds. 6'1", 220. It's just, don't love that size. Pretty sure he's a little bigger. Yeah, it's a bigger boy right there. Maybe in a little bit. Never opposed to a late round linebacker. You never know what you get out of those guys. Good special teamer. Develops even into playing at all, and you're pretty pumped about it. If we're not looking at linebacker right here, could look to double dip at receiver. Jaden Greathouse is still here. Kevin Coleman's here. I like him better than the 211 that he's at. I wouldn't hate dipping into the O-line pool again. See, I'm just not familiar with these guys. I just don't know the names, and I'm not ultra familiar. When in doubt, pick an Iowa offensive lineman. If he makes a team, you're pretty happy about it. Swing interior lineman. If not, well, who cares? Here's where I'd start to look at a linebacker. There he is, 266, ranked at 228. Who cares? At this point, they're all in the same bucket at this part of the draft. And he's got the size I like. I know nothing about Lander Barton, but he has got the size. He's a senior, so he's played a little bit. Hopefully would mean he has a good head on his shoulders. And he is now a Baltimore Raven for the foreseeable future. And with this last pick, I wouldn't hate taking a QB here. I know they had Cooper Rush, I think. I don't know. Their backup situations wasn't great. Gotta be honest, I wasn't watching many Ravens games when Lamar Jackson was not playing, because it's really the reason to play. Who is their backup quarterback? Is it Snoop Huntley? Did he end up back there? Yeah, it is. And it is Cooper Rush. Okay. Yeah, that's not the most fantastic room. Maybe snagging one of these guys just as a cheap backup. Diego Pavia. I mean, goodness gracious. Talk about a PR disaster, a PR nightmare that he has been through this whole Heisman process. Goodness. Just annoying, to be honest with you. I like Luke Altmaier. I think he's draft worthy. Same thing with Sawyer Robertson. I like Byron Brown, but he does have to. I like Byron Brown. They had a good year down there. We're gonna go Byron Brown. I like Luke Altmaier better. Just gives you a cheap backup. It's the 7th round pick. It's not like you're really drafting for an impact starter. This is the final results of this mock draft. TJ Parker in the first, Austin Saraville in the second, Akeem Messidor, Xavier Scott, Justice Haynes, Nick Harbour, Tanner Koziel, Logan Jones, Lander Barton, and Luke Altmaier. I think this draft would certainly help the defensive line the most, which is what they're needing. They need juice. They need stoutness. Austin Saraville is a kick-ass offensive lineman, really beefing the trenches again. Take advantage of an off year for them. If they end up missing the playoffs, kind of draft players to really rebuild the trenches because they're lacking in play on both sides. And then down the board, you kind of get some depth pieces that you could potentially see making an impact in a year or 2 years. Xavier Scott has got time to sit behind some of those guys. He doesn't have to come out right away. Same thing with Haynes. Same thing with Harbour. I think Koziel's great value at pick 172 as the kind of Isaiah Likely replacement. And then those bottom 3 picks, like I said, you get backup developmental pieces that if they don't hit, they don't hit. What are you going to do? If you guys like the draft, hate the draft, any thoughts, any comments, let me know down below. I'll read through them. I love talking with people about it. I love arguing, debating. It's fantastic. But yeah, if you enjoyed, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.